In this video, we are going to talk about the structure of venture capital firms or VC firms and the role of LPs or limited partners in them, who they are and why they're so important. So let's dive right in. So who is an LP? An LP or a limited partner is a very important part of a venture capital firm, while a general partner or GP is actually identifying, evaluating and managing the investment. An LP or LPs are basically the investors into the fund itself, so they fund the fund. There's a symbiotic relationship between LPs and GPs. They're bound together formally through a limited partner agreement, which lays out the distribution of returns, fees, and the roles and responsibilities of the two parties, which is the LPs and the GPs. There's a very symbiotic relationship between them, and while the GP is actively managing the investment, the LP is actually providing the investment itself and ensures that there is a VC firm actually in place. In fact, conventionally, 98% of VC fund is owned by an LP, while 2% is owned by GPs, and this is the traditional structure. While specific structures may actually be different. So let's dive into the different types of LPs. So who are these LPs and who are these LPs that invest into VC firms? So they may take different forms. So let's begin with number one, pension funds. So pension funds are either owned by governments or corporations, and they're set up for the purposes of providing retirement benefits to their employees. Now, examples of this could include CalPERS or California Public Employee Retirement System, and similar. Pension funds are generally investing into VC firms. Another example may be investment funds set up by educational institution called endowment funds. So endowment funds like Harvard University Endowment and the Yale University Endowment are fine examples of endowment funds. Number three could be foundations. Generally, foundations have large amounts of capital that they invest to generate returns. Now, these returns are actually used to fund charitable activities. However, certain VCs with a more humanitarian bent may benefit from raising from LPs who are foundations. There's also family offices. Now, family offices are private wealth management advisory firms, and these generally serve ultra high net worth individuals, and they often allocate a portion of their assets to VC investments. This is fairly common LP in VC firms. Examples include the Soros Fund Management Group and Pritzker Group. Now, insurance companies can also be LPs in VC firms. Now, these companies have large pools of capital that they invest to generate returns. A portion of these investments might be allocated to VC funds like MetLife and Allianz may be good examples. Sovereign wealth funds. These are basically state-owned investment funds that invest in a variety of assets, including VC funds like the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority or the Norway Government Pension Fund or Temasek Holdings in Singapore. These are fine examples of sovereign wealth funds. High net worth individuals. These are individuals with significant, wealth, and these can also be good candidates for being LPs in funds. Corporates. Now, some large corporates have a large pool of funds, and they have their own venture arms. Then there's, of course, fund of funds. These are investment funds that invest in other funds. These could include Harbor West and Alpinvest Partners. So these are just some examples. There could also be banks like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs that are going to invest in funds. Now, they can come in various forms, but one commonality here is they have a large pool of capital which they may have collected from a lot of people or just from a few people who are ultra high net worth individuals, and they're seeking a sort of return. Now, what are the key considerations for an LP to invest into a VC firm? Let's talk about that. Number one, track record. Number two, strategy and focus. Number three, team. Number four, alignment of interests. Number five, risk management. So the first thing that a potential LP is going to look at is the track record. Now, LP analyzes the past performance of the fund managers Now, do you have a history of generating good returns based on the investments that you've made? Now, they may request audited statements to ensure that you have achieved what you're claiming, you have gotten the kinds of exits that they want, and the fund that you're setting up can bring them the alpha or the ROI that they're looking at for their investments. Now, if you're an emerging fund manager, there may be different ways to prove that yes, indeed, you can achieve a certain level of alpha or returns for the LPs, but it may be fractionally tougher, or in fact, a lot tougher than somebody who has a series of chapters already behind their names. And generally, what you'll notice is if an LP is going to invest in one chapter, and if the LP is large enough, they may invest in subsequent chapters of the fund itself. The second thing that the LP is looking at is the strategy and focus of the VC firm. Now, this could be the sector focus, the geographical focus, and the interest that the VC firm may have in making investments. The third thing is the team itself. How experienced are they? How cohesively can they operate? How are their operations set up? The legal structure and so on. The fourth thing is basically alignment of interests, right? So the LP should be protected and should have mechanisms like co-investment available to them. There should be strong alignment in the kinds of sectors that the VC firm is going to invest in, and the sectors that the LP actually would like to invest their money into. So the VC firm is more like a vehicle for them to actually exhibit their interests and investments as well. That's another way of looking at things, especially when you look at corporates, right? Certain corporates may be more aligned towards certain innovations and certain sectors. For example, somebody operating in food and water space may want to fund more startups in food and water production. Just an example. And finally, it comes down to, what's very important is the risk management frameworks that the VC firm is leveraging, because at the end of the day, anything that involves money comes down to risk and reward. So the better the risk management framework, the more convinced the LP would be, and only with conviction comes investment from the LPs. An emerging fund manager, or especially an emerging fund manager, does have to keep in mind that this is a month-long and sometimes a process that can take close to a year and a half, to successfully fundraise from LPs and get your first fund started. Usually in successive chapters, if you've already had a fund, then the existing LPs double down, triple down, and keep investing back. And hence you don't have to necessarily look for new LPs. You have the option to look for new LPs, and you may have to look for new LPs, especially if you're growing the pool size or the fund size that's available to you. And that's usually the case as you're evolving through the different chapters in your fund. So best of luck to all the emerging fund managers, and also to entrepreneurs, now that they have a better understanding as to how a GP may not be so different from them after all, right? A GP is just like an entrepreneur. A GP has to fundraise, and a GP has to think entrepreneurially and operate entrepreneurially to achieve success. So the next time you meet a GP and you're an entrepreneur, know that there is something common between the two of you. Thank you. Keep watching, keep hustling. Hit the like button, subscribe, and keep coming back for more, especially if you're a hustler. We have a lot more of these videos on crypto, startups, funds, and everything else in the technology and business landscape that you've been wishing for. So see you next time.